So let's talk about what's going on. It's Conflux. And you could see they are up a staggering 52%. And now a market cap close to $1 billion, 700 million, right? And I didn't know this about Conflux, okay? I did notice them on CMC before. But they are the only regulatory compliant, public and permissionless blockchain in China. So out of all the other chains that operate in China, they are the only regulatory compliant one. Interesting. I don't know what that means exactly. Well, I do, but I don't know from which department, because you do have several other projects that are operating out of China. Somehow they're not regulatory compliant, but that's a huge endorsement, okay? We gotta give them that. A lot of people call Conflux the Matic of China, okay? Matic, Polygon is out of India, right? So the equivalency in China would be Conflux because they're the only regulatory compliant one. I'll have to look into that, but there are other projects that are operating in China, so I don't know how they're regulating without being compliant, but Conflux is, and they are layer one. They are their own network, okay? Just like some of these others that you guys know of, like Cardano or Solana or Avalanche, right? Or Polygon or Phantom, all these other guys, right? They're kind of their own chain. That's what Conflux is. And there's a couple impressive things, really impressive things that I noticed. Number one is, first of all, China Telecom, which is the second largest wireless carrier in China. And keep in mind, the second largest wireless carrier has more subscribers than the population of US alone. So they are bigger than AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint all combined. That's how large they are, and they're just the second largest, not the largest carrier. But they have partnered up with Conflux to develop a blockchain-enabled SIM cards, BSIMs. Interesting. NEO is up like 35% today, right? Up over $1 billion. They're bigger than Conflux. Another one that I'm quite familiar with is Alchemy Pay, up 50% today. And they're in the payment space. They also partner with Binance. They partner up with a lot of other projects, right? So basically everything that's in China right now is exploding. So will we see more of this in the future as China's economy overall improves, and maybe their system, their regulatory system, will allow their citizens to open up crypto trading, but limit it to like these Chinese-based companies? If so, that would be absolutely huge because there's so much money waiting to jump into the market in China right now. So VeChain is up about 7%, not pumping as much as these, but VeChain has a couple of exciting things going on, right? They are launching their V-World. Their new official wallet is now out. So that's pretty exciting. Also, they are having a new summit that's coming up in March, coming up in Las Vegas. This is a free summit, and they're adding 2 Nobel laureates to speak at this conference, right? So I like how their conference is absolutely free and just basically for people to learn about what's going on in VeChain. Pretty significant. Microsoft recently, it's been pretty hot because ChatGPT, obviously, with AI, they're focused on AI. This morning, they also announced something with huge. All these Xbox games will be available in the cloud. This partnership with NVIDIA, Microsoft is just making a lot of headline news right now, okay? They could do no wrong, except their stock has not been doing so right. But like Bitcoin, I think they're going to continue forward. But here's the thing. They partnered up with ANKR to offer enterprise node services. And that is what ANKR is really all about. Really providing nodes or RCP service points to the masses, right? But partnering with Microsoft is interesting because this is specifically created for enterprises, for other people that want to get involved with blockchain and maybe creating their own projects, Web 3.0 games. You know, the possibility is endless. Cosmos, and they have just announced they're allocating $40 million for ecosystem development in 2023. Basically, significant. And in case you question that ecosystem, look at this fancy graphics, right? There's a lot of things happening within Cosmos right now, and there's more things that will be happening. But right now, what you're seeing is 54 chains that are communicating each other in a cosmos, right? That's the name, Cosmos. So that is what's happening right now. And of course, they have a ton of dApps, a ton of DeFi. There's a ton of everything. So I'm a big fan of Cosmos. And also, I've talked a lot about interchain security, right? They are still coming out with that, but they have renamed it to replicated security. That's the new name. And this gives incentive for people to hold Atom, because right now Atom can only be used really for staking purposes. But what Cosmos is going to introduce with their next upgrade is the ability for smaller chains to basically borrow nodes and borrow security from the main chain, right? So it makes it very easy for dApp makers to come aboard Cosmos and just deploy really quickly. Klaytn proposing another L1. This is out of South Korea, owned by some big companies, right? They're proposing to burn like nearly half of their token supply held by the team. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know too much about Klaytn, to be honest. What I do know is they seem like they're up and coming, owned by some deep pockets, and like DeFi Kingdoms also chose to move to Klaytn. So it shows promise. Speaking of metaverse, a lot of metaverse news today. Saudi Arabia partners with Sandbox, and they don't really say what they're working on. They just say that they want to work with Sandbox and they want to get into the metaverse in the future. So this is the Saudi Arabia Digital Government Authority, and they have partnered up with Sandbox, and they're going to work together to, quote them, exploring, advising, and supporting one another in metaverse development. Now, we know Middle East has a ton of money. So for me, I think they just want to, again, like BlackRock, get entrenched right now while things are really, really low and get ready for the next bull run, right? I mean, that's what it sounds like. They want to get in on the ground floor while things are still cheap before the next bull run. So you have that, but also there's a lot of other stuff happening with Sandbox. Ubisoft is pushing their Rabbids NFTs in Sandbox. I'm not so familiar with them, but okay. But Ubisoft is huge. They're absolutely huge in the gaming industry. Decentraland is also having big movement. This one is actually talking about Fidelity. So besides BlackRock, Fidelity is also entering the metaverse. But in terms of Decentraland, you have some huge, massive whale transactions happening right now. So is this in anticipation of the market moving upwards? You just had a whale move $190 million worth of mana tokens. What do they plan on doing with that? We don't know. But that's an enormous, enormous amount.